I know what you're thinking. Did she just come home after a 16-hour shift after having worked for 100 hours in 6 days to film a video? Yes, because that's how committed I am to telling this story. This is what I look like now, guys. I come with permanent eye bags. My hair is permeated with COVID and disappointment from my medical officers and specialists because I'm just wordlessly incompetent and inadequate in their eyes, which is just going to be the case for the next couple of years. And sorry, I'm being rude. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sita and I make videos about housemanship in Malaysia. Okay, I'm gonna do this in one take, so bear with me, alright? When people have been asking me how things are going, I really don't know what to say. I haven't responded to text messages from anyone besides my family, and sometimes not even then, for the last 2 weeks. I can't remember when I last had, I last had a hot meal a week ago. I can't remember things anymore. I trip, I fall, I drop pens. My whole life is just hospital and getting back home. And here's the best part. On some nights when I can't sleep, I watch Grey's Anatomy. Yes, I spend my free time watching shows about medical interns in training to become surgeons, which is quite ironic because the department that I'm in right now is surgical. So I've been tagging for 10 days. Tagging. For those of you who don't know, housemanship is a thing that you do right after you graduate medical school. It's 2 years long, but if you extend for any reason, it can go up to 3 years. And then from that 2 years end, you can decide whether you want to continue working as a medical officer or if you just want to leave the government practice because you've already got your annual practicing certificate by this point. So tagging is a thing that you do at the beginning of every department. So housemanship, 2 years, 6 departments. Each department is 4 months long, and you spend the first 2 weeks tagging. Tagging is basically learn every single thing that is expected of a house officer to do within the time span that's allocated, 2 weeks. Sometimes you have to do it for longer, sometimes you can do it for less if you learn the things quicker. And once you have off-tagged via an assessment or a written exam or a bunch of other requirements, like for ours it's to go into the operation theater 6 times, clerk a bajillion cases, and carry out a couple of different procedures, standard stuff-ish. And when you off-tag, you get slightly more humane working hours. So yeah, I've pulled 16-hour shifts daily, and that's already like almost 100 hours. In the US, based on what I remember to be the Libby-Zion law, it's illegal for healthcare practitioners to work for more than 80 or 88 hours a week because it can cause medical malpractice. Because people forget that doctors are people too. But don't worry, house officers don't actually make any decisions at all, like autonomously. No. Even if your patient is an inch close to death, of course they do expect the house officers to be able to do something about it because everyone calls them doctor. But afterwards, whatever you did, whether the patient lives or dies or falls in a sweet spot in between, you must write it in the medical record because the rule is if you didn't write it, it didn't happen. Yeah, so it's very pics or didn't happen kind of thing. That was a lot of words. I've thought about so many different ways to tell you how things have been going, but I think the easiest way for me to do it is, let me just tell you about how my 10th day went, okay? The day started out alright. They put me in a different ward, the one which is all female. I was in the one with all males for the last week, and it was not so bad. We had a couple of patients they were sort of stable, so it wasn't really that unmanageable. I had one person who was my senior in the same cube as me, and it was all right. We did the reviews of the patients in the morning, and then at around 9-10ish we had a specialist do one of their rounds, and I had one new admission, and I wrote what I had seen written in her previous entries, which was her diagnosis. Thought that she had acute cholangitis, and then the specialist asks me, all right, what makes you think it's acute cholangitis? What's the triad for acute cholangitis? And I'm just standing there thinking, I feel like I knew this once upon a time. Then she asks me where I graduated from, and I'm like, great, an opportunity to drag my university's name through the mud. Excellent. Then she says, you're tagging, right? I'll see you later for the rounds. And I'm like, okay. She raised her voice, and it was reasonable, like I didn't know what it was, shortcuts, try it. Jaundice, fever, right hypochondriac pain, and then the pentad is if you present with confusion and shock, which is something that I know later. But that's something that you want to remember. The way that you learn things in housemanship is on a case-by-case basis. So let's say you have a patient that presents with symptoms of what you think is acute appendicitis. Study the case. Google it right there and then every time you have patients that you think have the same diagnosis, remember that just because something has like 15 symptoms, they're not going to show up with all of it. It could also present in a completely atypical manner. So that's one thing, pay attention to the cases that you get, because from now on you're not learning from books anymore, you're learning from people. Then at some point for one of our patients, like when the morning reviews are done, you have to carry out the active plans, which is whatever we've decided that we want to do to them, do it. Take blood, clean their wound, take off their catheter or drain, or discharge them. Oh my God, and the procedures for these are obviously endless, right? So we had one patient that was going to be doing we had to fix them a colonoscopy appointment, which I had never done before. So I asked someone, how do I book a colonoscopy appointment? And they said, go and find the scope book of this specialist, find a date for them, and then come back and write it in the medical records. I went to look for the scope book, but apparently the scope book isn't available because it's a weekend, and that's only going to be available to us on weekdays. So I went back and told my senior, I'm like, there is no scope book, so how do I book the appointment? And it kept insisting that the scope book was still there. And then I decided, okay, let me just fill out this form first. And she's like, no, don't fill out the form. Go and find the scope book. I'm like, there is no scope book. It's in the clinic, and the clinic is closed on weekends. So what do you want me to do? Then she just said, okay, you know what? Just finish filling out the form, and then when the medical officer comes over, you can get her signature, and then just tell her this is the date. Instead of ask her when the date is, that way she doesn't really have a choice, and then you have less work to do. I'm like, but we don't even know if this is an urgent scope or not urgent scope. Why don't we just ask? And she says, just do it. That's her response, just do it. And then I asked, why is she even getting a scope? Like, I was in a different ward all week, and I don't really know these patients. So I'm asking someone who's a year and a third of the way ahead of me, and she just says, I don't know, and just do it. And at one point I went to the pantry, and I was just sort of talking to a friend-ish, a new friend, and she just walks in and just starts screaming at me. And the final sentiment was, if you mess up, I'm the one that looks bad, So at no point in any of this was there the mention of patient care. And that's something that you have to learn how to stomach. A lot of what you think that you're gonna be spending time doing, like interacting with patients, taking the time to know if there is anything actually wrong with them, or if there is, and usually, well, they come to a hospital, so there is. how do you find out what that is? There's little to no time to figure that out, you know. You're filling forms, you're running labs, you're texting specialists or medical officers. You're not really making any decisions. You're conveying information. You just become a glorified personal assistant slash, oh, and secretary. This is so good. The discharge summaries are just, oh. You have 3 separate forms that you have to fill out. And then you have to get the medical officer to sign these off. And then you've got to make them prescriptions or sick leaves or daily dressing slips. And it's a learning curve, you know. There's a lot that you have to learn about the new system, the new environment that you're in, and it's not easy, but more than anything, they say this a lot, you know, that you've got to work on your attitude, and boy do I have attitude problems, so I've just been pretending not to have one the entire time. I hope it pays off. Probably not. And then, yeah, people take out their anger and tired, exhausted souls on you, so you cry a lot. I mean, I've been crying on my walks home just from exhaustion. I sometimes cry in the middle of my rounds when someone says something mean to me, and just remember that it's okay to feel that way. Don't feel bad about feeling bad. Don't gaslight yourself because everyone else is gonna be. Take a couple of minutes, go to the bathroom and cry. That's what I've been doing. It really helps. And what else happens today? Sometimes you have people that see that you're having a tough time and give you some consolation advice, and then I just end up crying even more, right? But remember that it does get better. Really, at this point, I'm just consoling myself. And I've completely forgotten what I was saying. Morning reviews, carry out active plans. Evening reviews, carry out active plans. On-call reviews, carry out more active plans and prepare coming morning blood. It's just, there's never really a moment for you to sit down, and you have to just be really vigilant about being able to eat and rest when you can. But a lot of what your seniors will tell you to do is fill out all the discharge summaries and prepare everything so it's easier for the next person. But the system is set up so much to benefit the person that's going to take over your shift. So far it's been interesting, you know. I don't really see a lot of attention being given to how to optimize the system for patient care. I mean, I know it's thick coming for me to say that now. Obviously, like, there's so many ways in which things have been designed to tend to patient care. But for example, when you have 3 rounds from specialists, or then with medical officers, and they're all like sticking their fingers up patients' butts over and over again because they just don't seem to believe that there's nothing to see. I don't know, honestly. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna be exhausted for a while. I don't really remember why I'm doing this, except that I have to. There's no point where you can just quit or leave. I mean, of course, during the orientation, they're like, oh, we have an open door policy, and you can tell us anytime there's something wrong. But then at the cost of, you know, what I've heard about my department was that if I do that, then they won't grant me my days off, which was just sad, really quite disturbing if you think about it. Being just caught in this cycle of, oh my god, this is your first posting, so you're useless, so I'm not going to give you anything to do. But if they don't give you anything to do, then you have no way to learn how to do the things that you're expected to know how to do. And it's just, I don't really know. It's really, really hard. And there's so little you can do except power through, meditate, eat, sleep, eat some more, sleep some more, and remember that you're going through something to serve the patient's best interests. Try not to take anything personally. Everyone's tired. Everyone's got stuff to deal with. If people take things out on you, don't take it back out on them. Just stay silent and nod and apologize. Because one, it just makes them feel even worse. And two, it's not really an apology of I've done something wrong here, but more of a I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm sorry that you've got so much on your shoulders and now me to take on as well. But I really rely on your support and guidance to get by. So I'm not in a position to have any ego. I'm not in a position to make demands. So I'll take it. I'll take it because I have to. I'll take it because this is what's been normalized. I'll take it because if this is what is required of me to learn how to be a safe and then someday good doctor, then yeah, I'll take it. So I know this was a little bit of a different kind of video. It was more of a rant than anything else. I'm quite honestly just quite disoriented and confused. I've had like 5 to 6 hours of sleep for the last entire week. I still have to do the dishes and my laundry and take care of a bunch of things, edit this video, but I hope you guys got some sort of gist as to what my life is like now. In the future, I will make an attempt to structure my thoughts, maybe even wash my hair. But yeah, for those of my friends who've been asking how I'm doing, I'm all right. I'm quite well supported by the few friends that I have made. I will tell you about those stories in the next video. I am eating. I'm not sleeping as much as I should be, but you know, I'm handling it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you think that you want to keep hearing updates about what my life is like working as a house officer in Malaysia. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment if you so please, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.